Ida for leaving a party because my date refused to get me water? I had been seeing someone I met through mutual friends. We did good times one-on-one, and when he invited me to events with his friends, I'd contribute to the group dynamic by never showing up empty-handed and offering to grab drinks for others. Fast forward to a holiday-themed party with his friends. My date and I planned to meet there and hang out afterward. I spent the day cleaning my condo and preparing mulled wine to bring. During the party, people were getting drinks for one another, including me when I served the wine. At one point, I was sitting on the couch, locked in by only my date on one side and many others on my other side. I was tired and didn't feel like tightly squeezing past people I didn't know, so I asked my date if he could grab me a glass of water. He shook his head and after I said huh, he said, "No. I was just up, and you could have asked before I sat down again." I was taken aback because I view small gestures, like grabbing water, as basic acts of care for friends, but especially for someone you're dating. That moment, combined with a long day of preparation, left me feeling drained. Since the party was winding down and I didn't have the energy to engage further, I said my goodbyes and called a ride. My date offered to walk me out and said he felt hurt that I was leaving. I explained I needed to recharge but that he was welcome to come over after the party. As we walked out, I jokingly mentioned how him not getting me water surprised me. He replied, "Wow, that really upset you, huh? I have to be guarded about these things, you know." Later, we texted, but he seemed more upset about me leaving than interested in listening to why I felt drained. When I tried to call, he didn't answer. His texts were curt, and I eventually told him I'd let him decompress. 2 days later, I called to discuss what happened. He said he'd call that evening but didn't reach out until 3 days later, saying, "I'm not dodging you, I've just been busy." At that point, I was over it, especially since he never acknowledged the misunderstanding or my attempts to resolve it. A month later, we finally had a conversation. He explained that getting me water felt subservient and was something I had to earn through time and being in the trenches with him. He also said I didn't understand how busy his life was. For context, I work multiple jobs. I calmly explained that grabbing water for someone isn't about being subservient but a small act of kindness. After reflecting, I feel his responses and handling of the situation were disrespectful and indicative of bigger issues. So, is there an asshole here? I appreciate the perspective.
Reddit thinks you're not the asshole.
Ida for leaving a family gathering and taking the cake with me after getting my feelings hurt. I, 27F, hit 1 year sober from alcohol at the beginning of the year. This was a huge accomplishment for me. It was bigger to me than finishing college. I told my family that next time we were together for family dinner I had something to celebrate. This all happened at my mom's. The kids were playing and the adults were hanging out. I took the moment to share that I'd reached 1 year sober and how good I felt about it. They went with, "Oh, that's what you were talking about, and has it been a year already?" I am embarrassed to admit I hoped someone would say they're proud of me. My Bill Steve looked at my sister and they both said well. At the same time, and she said, "Since we're all here, niece just got into a specific gymnastics thing. It's been a long road but she did it." Steve popped some wine they brought and started giving everyone glasses/cups. He made eye contact with me and his face fell. I had this gnawing feeling so got up from the table. I took a walk. I tried to get through the moment mentally so I could be present for my niece to celebrate her success. But when I got back to the house my sister asked me why I left without saying anything. I said I needed a minute to myself. She looked at me funny and said okay I said I'd shared something I was very proud of and she bulldozed over it. My mom put her hand up and asked me what my news was. I said that I'd told them. I hit 1 year sober. Mom said my generation always wanted praise for doing the bare minimum. That wasn't an accomplishment, it was just what I needed to do, like graduating high school. I tried to make it through to dinner but found myself just not in the mood anymore. I decided to go home. Here is the direct thing I am being called a butthead for. It brought a small berry chantilly cake, my favorite, to share after dinner. It was the thing I decided I earned. The kids had definitely seen it. On my way out I decided to take it home with me. I guess when they realized the cake wasn't in the garage fridge anymore, my sister called to ask me why I took it. I said I did because it was my cake to celebrate my accomplishment. She said, "Word for word, are you fucking serious? Oh my god Emma, grow up. You are such a fucking baby." My mom later texted me directly to tell me how disappointed she was that I threw a tantrum because my niece got more attention than me. I don't think her read of what happened is right, but that is why I am asking you guys. Am I the asshole because I took home the cake in the end? Was that really childish of me, considering the kids saw it and then didn't get any? As I was putting on my shoes to leave, Steve found me and directly apologized and said that he was completely oblivious in the moment. I know he did not do anything to intentionally hurt me.
Reddit thinks you're not the asshole.
AITA for not giving the dollhouse I built to my niece, but to my wife as a gift? It's not a dollhouse, but I didn't want anyone to think I was being misleading on purpose by saying I built a house I, 28M, made my wife, 28F, a replica of a house that's known to fans of a musician, but wouldn't mean much to others. It's about 2 feet tall and wasn't very complicated to build, but my wife had said a few times over last year that she thought it would be cool to have for little trinkets. She's like a crow with her trinkets, I love it. She didn't know I was making it for her, but I did sneakily involve her in its creation through having her make a couple tic-tacs when we were out together so I could get the colors right. She has no idea, lol. I was excited, so I showed a picture to my brother. He told me it was cool, but didn't get the purpose. He showed it to my niece Ava, 13F, who knew what it was and said she wanted one too. My brother asked if I would give it to Ava for her birthday. I said no, it's for my wife, but I could make one with Ava. It would help teach her some basic woodworking skills which they don't do in schools here anymore. I like that. Brother said if it was so easy then I could make a second one for my wife and just give this one to Ava since her b-day is the end of the month. Again I said no, this was done specifically for my wife. He seemed to accept that but then came back to me and said, isn't it a little weird to make a dollhouse for an adult woman? I told him it's not a dollhouse, just a fancy shelf. He argued that makes it worse, because Ava would actually play with it. He must have gone to complain to mom about it. He is the younger brother, because mom called me to tell me that it was stupid to give my wife a dollhouse. I tried to explain that it's not a dollhouse but she just kept saying that's stupid. This weekend I was at their house and Ava kept bringing up the house and laying it on thick with statements like I've always wanted one just like it. She kept asking why my wife wanted a dollhouse. I said it's not a dollhouse, but she kept asking why she needed a dollhouse. I told my brother that he was encouraging his kid to be manipulative and I really didn't like it, so I was going to leave. He told me that I was dangling the house over her head like McDonald's and teasing her and that it made me a bad uncle. Being a good uncle is important to me and I do feel for the girl because she's a big fan too. I admit I have a blind spot for this because I don't have kids and maybe I shouldn't have shared the picture with my brother to begin with. Am I really the asshole for not just giving it to her? Yes, it was easy to make and I could make another quickly. Sorry guys, Ava isn't my brother's biological daughter. There's a long story involved that I didn't want to add but I should have realized the age would be surprising. I still see her as my niece regardless but I get why that would be alarming. Nothing bad happened or anything.
Reddit thinks you're not the asshole.
AITA for hiding my expensive shampoo and conditioner from my friend's guest? I, 28F, share an apartment with my friend, 34M. Last weekend, while we were away, he invited his female friend, Sarah, to stay over. When we got back, I noticed she had used most of my shampoo and conditioner without asking. I had splurged on these expensive products to treat myself. I also make a lot less money than my friend. Today, Sarah came over again for a visit and asked to shower at ours before heading to a dance class. However, I had taken my expensive products to my room this time, leaving only my friend's basic shampoo out for her to use. When she couldn't find the conditioner, she asked my friend, who came to my room to ask me about it. I told him that she's his guest, and it's not my responsibility to provide spa products for her. My friend got mad and thinks I'm rude and petty. AITA? Update, I showed my friend where to buy the shampoo and conditioner. He said he's sorry for getting angry and ordered new bottles for everyone to use. Thanks for all the NTA comments.
Reddit thinks you're not the asshole.
AITA for declining to invite a woman who has called herself a total klepto into my home. I joined a women's social club 6 months ago because I've been struggling to make friends after relocating to a new-to-me city. It took me a while to warm up to the group and to connect with people I actually had anything in common with. I had to wade through a lot of Botox parties and boozy brunches to find things I was interested in. But I did, and I started coming to group events fairly often. I hang out most often with the women who like to read, do crafty things, bake, skywatch, etc. Among these women is one, I'll call her Andia, who has made several comments about how she's a total klepto. I think that she makes these comments to seem cool to the other people in the group. I reached out to some of the women I see regularly at these events and invited them over to my place to watch a TV show we'd been talking about and do crafty stuff. They were excited and agreed to come. Unfortunately, Andrea found out. I assume someone asked if she was going, and reached out to me to ask if she was invited. I considered this for a bit and then told her no, as I only had so much room at home. She didn't believe me and asked me for the real reason, saying I thought we got along, which yes, is true. I told her I'm not comfortable inviting a kleptomaniac into my home. That I've worked hard to have the things I have and it would be stupid for me to invite her knowing that she openly brags about it. She said okay very quietly. She then said, "You're painting me out to be some horrible criminal when you don't even know anything about me." I said that her being proud to call herself a klepto was all I needed to know. She said that I was a high school mean girl and ableist. I am unsure what the foundation for that statement is. This unfortunately has spilled over to the group, which is frustrating. But what has me the most surprised is that there are so many people defending her and telling me that I'm out of touch and take things too literally. Am I?
Reddit thinks you're not the asshole.
AITA for gossiping with my mom about my brother's fiancée is potentially lying about giving birth? I, 22F, have an older brother, John 32 meters, who has been with his fiancée, Jane 30F, for 4 years. They have a 4-month-old. Jane found out she was pregnant at 5.5 weeks and immediately called my mom to tell her. Mom was confused, but still very excited. Jane said she was going to tell John when he got back from his work trip. A few hours later, she called again, sobbing, saying she has insatiable cravings. Mom made a joke like, "Isn't it a bit early for cravings?" And Jane went off on her. She started yelling about how this was her pregnancy and no one else's. It was an odd reaction. She also apologized for her outburst by blaming it on hormones. When my brother returned from his trip, him and Jane left to stay at her mother's and we didn't see her until after the baby was born. John said this was because Jane was afraid of losing the pregnancy and wanted to be with her mom and we needed to respect boundaries. Whenever someone would ask about Jane or the baby, they would shut it down with vague answers like every pregnancy is different or she's carrying small, which isn't unusual. They barely shared anything about the pregnancy. No ultrasound pictures, no baby shower, and Jane didn't want anyone around during the delivery. I also discovered that every craving she listed came from one article about pregnancy cravings. She even listed multiple items in the same order as the article. When the baby was born, we were finally allowed to see Jane and John, and baby of course. It was very bittersweet as we all wish we could have been there for Jane to help out, but Jane and John both reassured us that we did help out by staying away during the pregnancy. The weirdest part though, is how Jane describes the birth. She claims she had an epidural via IV drip into her hand. Edited BC. I didn't elaborate, which is not how those are administered. When I asked clarifying questions, thinking she had gotten confused, which is understandable, she shut down and refused to answer, like how she would during the pregnancy. She said the baby had latching issues because he was born with no umbilical cord stump. This can technically happen, but it's a rare and fatal medical condition that their baby does not have. The final straw was when she told us that the baby basically fell out of her within an hour of being in labor, despite my brother telling us how hard the birth was, and even stating that was why they weren't going to try for any more kids. Mom is on the same side as me, and has been noting this inconsistencies and inaccuracies but doesn't know how to bring it up. And their reactions don't help. A few days ago, my brother texted Mom saying her doubt of Jane is disrespectful and they both want full apologies from the both of us for bullying Jane about her pregnancy/labor. I haven't made any outright accusations about it, nor have I said any of this to Jane. I've only asked questions when she brings the birth/pregnancy up. AITA for having doubts?
Reddit thinks you're the asshole.
AITA for accepting an invitation on my husband's behalf that I knew he wouldn't like and refusing to cancel it? My husband is a busy person, but he's not such a busy person that he can't manage invitations from his family and friends if he wanted to. His family and friends act like I'm responsible for his social calendar, which I didn't mind at first because I didn't have anything better to do, but I'm tired of being the one to have to say no to everything, and it sucks having to deal with people trying to convince me to come to things when I know they only really care about my husband attending. I've tried to get them to go to him directly, but he just sends them back my way or ignores them, so they come to me anyway. I've spoken to him multiple times about not wanting to be responsible for our social calendar and he acts like he gets it but then never responds to invites, so nothing's changed. So I've done something that you guys may or may not think is petty. My mother-in-law has asked for us to join monthly family dinners with her side of the family. I prefer her side of my husband's family, but my husband is closer to his dad's side, so we see them more. Usually, I wouldn't accept an invite like this without checking with my husband, but since she asked him first and he ignored her, I decided to accept on his behalf. The first dinner is on Sunday, which is the day we were also supposed to have dinner with his grandfather on his dad's side, but he never told me that was happening and neither did anyone else. His dad's side have a horrible habit of just assuming we'll be at something because they've told us. Part of me thinks the dinner with his grandfather is a lie because I know he's been avoiding his half-brother like the plague since he keeps asking him for an investment and his step-siblings will be there. My husband told me to cancel, but I don't want to because my mother-in-law was so happy when I said yes. Also, his sister will be there and I haven't seen her in forever. I won't stop him from canceling if he really wants to, but he's turned this situation into a fight because I didn't ask him first and now I don't want to be the one to cancel. He's basically said if we go to the first one he expects me to tell my mother-in-law this won't be a regular thing, but I think he should be the one to do that since I have no problem having dinner with them regularly. AITA?
Reddit thinks you're not the asshole.
AITA for calling out my partner taking credit for paying a restaurant bill when he paid on our joint account? So we, BF53, and my partner, M57, took our collective kids out for dinner tonight. My partner paid the bill and as usual paid on our joint account. He sometimes picks the bill up himself, but more often it's the joint account that gets used. On the way home his daughter and her boyfriend made a point of thanking him directly for the meal and he acknowledged saying something along the lines of "You're welcome" or "No problem." I didn't say anything in front of the kids, but when home I checked he'd used the joint account, and when he confirmed he had, I asked why he'd not corrected the kids that it wasn't just him that had paid. He went off at me for ruining a good night and that I was being picky about paying the bill, completely missing my point. My point wasn't about money, it was about him taking the credit and not correcting the kids. I just see that as a common courtesy. He sees me as being unreasonable and bringing up something best left unsaid. So I hear? Should I have just let it go?
Reddit thinks you're the asshole. What do you think after hearing these stories? Share your opinion in the comments. Thanks for watching. If you liked what you saw, make sure to give a thumbs up, subscribe, and ring the bell for more videos. See you soon again.